Hi everybody, welcome to another episode on Havoc TV. I'm Mikael Roda, aka The Rambler, aka Mickey, and today we are discussing once again my build. And as you can see, let me just get the camera there. As you can see, it's pretty empty. So we've got the motor out. I'm gonna take you to the back of the car because I'll basically show you guys actually how the block looks now that it's bare and everything's out of the car. I had bad news. I've now got some good news. So I was told that they had a block for me. Um, so before we get to the block, let me just quickly explain the situation that I have. So I think let me take you to the back. Let me show you what the block looks like itself, and then I will give you the explanation as to why I'm choosing the specific block that I'm gonna choose. Um, so yeah, let's go to the back of the car. Let's just switch this thing around. Okay, so as you can see, all the things are laying in the car. Okay, but there we go. Okay, so let's get to the block quickly. Okay, so as you guys can see, this is my block. As you can see, everything's out of the block, and you can see that over here what I've done is we initially thought that by pinning the block, as you can see, I've got pins all over, okay, on each cylinder. By pinning the block, we were hoping that would strengthen the block, which it did. For about 2 to 3 years, it strengthened the block. But as you can see, that is basically how this block cracked. Now, if you look at where it is, it's actually, there's the pin, and next to the pin is where it actually broke. Okay, so this block is obviously called an open deck block. Okay, and this is the stock Z20 LER block, which is the block that we obviously have stock in our car. And what I've had to decide, sorry, just going over the cables, what I had to do was I had to think about why the block or I had to look at why the block is actually cracking at that point. I did my research, went onto the Google, and I found that in the UK the same thing is happening to the guys. It's not only us here, it's not a tuning issue, it's not anything that we've done, it's not an engineering issue, it's actually a thing that happens even overseas. So then I did some research and I found out that I need to get a closed deck block. That is quick! That is so quick! Oh my gosh!
KO4 for the win!
And for those that don't know, the Astra H is obviously it's not the newest Astra. You get one more, which is called the Astra J. But the Astra H doesn't have very new technology in it. It's actually got old technology. If you take the blocks into account, they're actually all the same blocks. So I then did some research and I found out that actually I could use any 2-liter block from any Opel motor, as long as it's a big block. Okay. So I did some research, looked at which blocks were closed deck blocks, and as much as not that I don't like those motors, I mean I definitely do. I mean, I'm an Opel guy. We obviously have to like those motors, but as much as I was saying that the newer motors are better, unfortunately I now need to go with the older motor, which is called a 20XE. Some of you know it as a C20XE. They're not all C20XE, some are only 20XE, but basically I need to go with the Superboss motor, but the block. Does the head fit on that block? Yes, it actually does. All 2-liter Opels blocks are actually interchangeable. So what you can do is you can move all your parts over from one block to the other, and all the heads can fit onto those blocks. So they're actually all identical in terms of that. Okay, so it actually makes life a little easier. So I then found out by someone that I know, and he managed to get me a 2-liter 8-valve block, which is the exact same block. Also closed deck, perfect for what I needed it for. And then what happened? He had phoned me and he said, listen, the person sold the block, and I asked him to keep the block for me. Unfortunately, they sold the block, and that did not make things easy for me at all. So what I then did was I had another contact, called him, and he said to me, yes, I've got a 20XE block, which is a Superboss motor. So I actually found a block. So that's the good news in this whole story. So yeah, so that means I've got a closed deck block, which is perfect for what I need. I could have done all the other changes. There is a lot of things that I found on the internet that you can do to the current motor, to the Z20 Ali R or even the Ali H, but I just don't want to mess. My uncle is in the engineering field. He's a fit and turner, and he said to me, listen, it's okay to do those kind of things, but when you're putting something into a car it was never really engineered, or even into a motor, yes, you may machine it properly, etc., but you're putting something in there that was never fully engineered like that when the motor was originally engineered. So you're always running a risk of anything breaking or cracking. It's always that kind of thing. So even though they figured out the problems overseas, there is always a risk of something still breaking. Obviously, I'm not saying that the closed deck can't break, but if you look at all the big power motors out there, they all have closed deck blocks. 2JZ, closed deck block. 1UZ, closed deck block. They all have closed deck blocks. The RBs, the RB26s, all those things, all the big power engines actually have closed deck blocks, which is strange, which kind of makes me think, why the heck did Opel not keep this motor, which is the first turbocharged, or what the first, but one of the turbocharged engines, you don't make it a closed deck block. So the 200TS had a closed deck block. Worked, nothing ever had, there was never ever issues. You now go to the newer models and then you go and change it and make it an open deck block. Makes no sense to me, because all the Japanese cars and all the big power cars are all running closed deck blocks. But anyway, at the end of the day, we don't know why they do these things. I'm not going to get into why they do it. But yes, I have found a block, so we do have good news. So yeah, so we're going to go and check out the block today, and then see what he says, and then I'm going to get all the paperwork as well from him, so it's not just a guy just selling me a block, it's actually very legit. So in other words, when I need to register the motor onto the car, I have all the paperwork and all the right stuff. So yeah, so stay tuned guys, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell, it does notify you each and every time we upload a video, and also just keeps you updated as to what's going on, because we are uploading every single week. And then also just thanks to each and every one of you that have been supporting, have been watching, and that have been commenting down below. For those that want to, if you want to comment down below, if you have any comments on what's happening or any questions, I'm not a mechanic. As you can see, I did not strip the motor myself. I'm not a mechanic, but I can answer questions. If I don't know what the answer is to the question, I can find out for you. Yeah, I'm also willing to learn as much as you are willing to learn. So yeah, if you guys have any comments, comment down below. Any questions, and I will try and answer them.